How long would you wait for someone you love? Every day, a small dog walked with its owner to the bus stop at exactly 8 a.m. This was their ritual, a shared moment before the world pulled them apart for a little while the dog always stopped at the same line on the pavement, a crack that marked the boundary between waiting and leaving. It would watch the big yellow bus pull up, hear the hiss of the doors, and see its person step aboard. As the doors closed, its ears would perk up, a silent promise hanging in the air. The owner would always pat its head just before getting on, a gentle press of a hand on soft fur. The words were always the same, a mantra of reassurance. "I'll be back this evening. Wait for me." And the dog understood. It was a promise, a contract sealed with a loving gaze. And every evening, just as the streetlights began to flicker on, the promise was kept. Bus would arrive, the doors would open, and there they were, again tail wagging, a happy bark, a joyful reunion. The world was right again. But one morning, something was different. The bus came as usual. The owner got on, the doors closed, and the bus drove away. The dog waited, just like always. Evening came, and with it, the familiar rumble of buses. One after another, they stopped, opened their doors, and let people out. But none of them brought back the familiar face, the gentle hand, the loving voice. Lights in the nearby houses went out one by one. The street grew quiet, wrapped in the deep blue of night. Still, the dog stayed. The promise echoed in its heart. "Wait for me." Days turned into weeks. The seasons began to shift. Rain slicked the pavement, leaves gathered in little piles, and eventually, a thin layer of frost covered the ground. People in the neighborhood began to notice the small, steadfast figure at the bus stop. The local shopkeeper, a kind woman with a sad smile, started leaving out a small bowl of fresh water each morning. A student on her way to school would often leave a handful of treats. Some people passing by called it foolish. "It's just a dog," they'd say, shaking their heads. Others whispered, "How loyal!" their eyes filled with admiration. But to the dog, it wasn't about being foolish or loyal. It was simply about waiting. That was the only thing that mattered. Then one rainy afternoon, another bus pulled up. The doors opened, and a stranger stepped off. They looked tired, carrying a cardboard box filled with old clothes and photographs. They had the same gentle eyes as the owner, a familiar sadness in their posture. This person had come to this town to do a difficult task to clean out the owner's apartment, to pack away a life that had ended too soon, and to say a final, quiet goodbye. As the stranger stood looking at the empty street, the dog lifted its head, a scent on the wind, a shadow in the corner of its eye. Something felt familiar. It wasn't the owner, but it was a piece of them. The dog walked slowly closer, its movements cautious but curious. The strangers saw the dog and their breath caught. They knelt down, tears starting to well in their eyes as they recognized the loyal companion from stories and photos. Between them, an unspoken understanding moved like a quiet bridge, built from shared memories and a love they both knew so well. The stranger sat on the cold bench, their voice a soft whisper. "He can't come back," they said, the words heavy with grief. They reached out a hand, not to pat, but to offer. "But I can take you home if you want." The dog leaned into their hand, a gesture of trust, a release of a long-held vigil. After a moment, it stood up. For the first time in many, many weeks, the dog walked away from the bus stop. Its loyalty hadn't ended. Its love hadn't faded. It had simply found a new path to walk on. As they walked down the street together, they passed the old stop one last time, a silent farewell to a place of waiting. Sometimes hope waits, and sometimes hope learns to move on.